Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to JT Picks, and today I have none other than Yoshi with me, formerly known as SiahThyLegend. Welcome, and
What's good? What's good?
yeah, we just going to chat it up. Um, I think the first thing I want to talk about is like, where do you think, because you had such a big year last year, right? I want to see where you think CHH is going to go in 2025.
I want it to be original again.
Mmm. Can you expand on that originality? Like, what do you think is the lack that we're borrowing too many elements from mainstream hip hop?
Not just that, is that I feel like a lot of people, a lot of CHH just doesn't have substance for me anymore. It's very, everyone, I feel like it's too much of a fear of being yourself within your music, which I can see how vulnerable it can be or somewhat of a risk, but we shouldn't have to be ripping off or copying what's already popping in a secular for the sake of financial gain by any means. But with that being
Hmm.
said, I believe there's more power in whatever God has personally. Like some people like rock music more than rap, you know. Some people like boom bap more than trap. So whatever sound that feels right to you, I say just go all for it. But again, try to make your own style at the same time. It
I
doesn't have to
agree
be
a
straight
hundred
up ripping
percent.
off.
100%. One thing that comes to mind is like John Keith. He's doing like he said he's doing not a rap album as his next album, and he knows that's probably going to. And I'm not talking about his West Indies with Miles Minnick. I don't know if you know
I know what you're
about
talking
that
about.
one,
Yeah, yeah.
but he said that his next solo album will not be a hip hop album, and he's just doing it for like what he wants. So I think that's more like what you're talking about, more of just that style. And I know that his last album was one of the most substantive albums I've heard in years from a CHH, artist.
I feel you.
So that was great. But I think that the bigger like CHH, I think that we're going to have a big year because for example, Aliens Alive, that label. I don't know what you think of that.
Oh, I personally think they're going to be bigger than Reach in the span of 3 years.
Probably because of the head, Rodney Jerkins. And I know for example that like Justin Bieber, who is already like gearing up to drop an album and everything. Right now he's like super active on social media and whatnot. And he started following people and unfollowing certain people, and he followed Rodney Jerkins. So I'm thinking that for his
Lore.
album, which is going to be hip hop, he
Yeah.
might be doing something maybe with Rodney Jerkins and for production. But at that point, we could possibly see like a Gavi collab or is Alex Jean on Aliens Alive? No. Oh, he is.
Yes.
Okay, Alex Jean or that those. Yeah, so I think that could potentially lead us to an even bigger year for CHH and more exposure. And I know that exposure isn't everything, right? But it's a big chunk of it. Where do you think that balance between exposure and reaching a broader audience and being authentic, where do you see that line?
Not everyone is meant to go and minister to the hood, but not everyone is meant to go minister to your average youth group. So I
Mm,
believe it has a lot to do with your background. For example, for me, I'm not gangster. I'm not any of that. But
yeah.
I'm very familiar with it because I grew up around it, you know. I don't think I'll ever get to the same relatability as someone who is in that lifestyle.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I can set the setting of where I was still given freedom and for like freaking blessing from God that I didn't fall into a path of that,
Yeah.
but that even my example alone of my lifestyle is proof that even in the circumstance, there's still freedom from it. With that being said, there's some white rappers who speak more to white people, you know, than
Yeah.
black people.
I
Again,
think
there's
though
some.
that's important though. Like that they're not like trying to be fake. Like Holvey's not trying to be a thug. You
No,
know what I'm
exactly.
saying? And
So
I
with that
think
being
that's
said,
good. He's being
I
authentic.
believe Culture is one of the most powerful things humanity has. I believe when you don't embrace it, you're not being authentically true to yourself, especially within music.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying if you're Latino, go make Spanish music. I don't make Spanish music, and I'm freaking Venezuelan.
Yeah.
But at least from what I've grown up around, I'm still a voice for my people.
Yeah.
I still want to see Jesus reach my people. But with that being, again, freaking, Paul was given out to Gentiles. And while Peter was still speaking to the Jews about Jesus. So it really comes to a matter of demographic where we should stop trying to be number one, forget the number one spot. I believe bringing Jesus into your community is way more powerful than a certain charting game, a certain competition. And even then, that's competition against with yourself of how many people can I reach within my community, within the demographic I'm trying to preach to. I
Yep.
believe that's way more of a fulfilling goal than anything else.
Yeah. Wow, that's good stuff. Wow. And I think actually I love how you're so consistent because I can almost hear that's almost an extension of what you were saying about like Forrest Frank and his make viral music comments. And I'm just thinking like this kind of is almost a restate of my last question, but do you think that there is any type of like validity to that, to making music that's trying to go viral? Should you try to maybe a little bit? Because, like, yes, there is a part of ministry that's important, right? But also, you do want to go viral because you want your message to go out. So, do you think that there is precedence for that?
When I see artists nowadays, I don't hold them to the same standards as a pastor whatsoever. But the
Of
thing
course.
about music is, it is one of the only things that can directly hit your soul.
Yeah.
I enjoy secular music personally. I listen
Yeah,
to a lot
me
of it.
too.
I have a lot of Christian friends who make secular music.
Yeah.
However, for me personally, I can't have that on my conscience that any song I'm making from now on is like, if I'm not saying Jesus, I literally wasted their whole time, where they're just hearing me yap about something random. Where at the very least, I want to spread positivity. At the very least, I want to feed somebody something that's actually going to fulfill them, motivation, whether it be peace, whether it be there's something beyond the trial. Me personally, that's why I've always had a somewhat of a fake hatred for NF, but I'm very
Yeah.
firm on like, I don't agree how in his music there's no resolution to a pain. It's somewhat of a empty question of, this is my situation, I'm just gonna deal with it kind of deal,
What I hope with NF is that eventually he is going to give us a resolution.
I agree with that. I hope
Because
for that too.
because his album Hope, like if you see, he even said in the title track, he said, I'm looking for the map to hope. You see it. And I'm like, well, the album title is the answer, right? You're looking for hope. And I hope that, no pun intended, that when he keeps going there as the albums continue, maybe that hope is found. Well, we know as believers that hope is found in Jesus. And so I hope that that's the answer that he ends up showing his audience. And I think that would be amazing if he does. Now, I don't know if he's going to lead there because I'm thinking he's probably heading more of a positivity route, being a purely positive rapper. But that's where I want him to go. And I think it could be super effective that way.
So alongside that, bro, I guess, yeah, there's a sense of any product has to be sold to the highest quality. Music is a business. Let's be honest. It's a product at the end of the day. So quality over quantity any day. However, when I'm thinking of what's viral, it's not long lasting at all. It's very momental.
Yeah.
I believe the message of Jesus was not viral. It
Yeah.
was life changing.
100%. Yeah,
So
it's funny.
I really find it amusing when people try to go the direction of, let's make Jesus viral, quote unquote. Like,
Yeah, or cool or relatable, and
exactly.
like while there is
It shouldn't be relatable. It should be completely going against your lifestyle. Freaking the Bible denies the ways of man.
Jesus has come to bring a sword between, or to break. I know that verse was being not exactly 100% literal, but it was to bring a separation between a father and his son and the son. You know, because there will be times that that's the case, right? Where a father doesn't like that his sons become a Christian or vice versa.
I agree. So with that being said, when I'm looking at freaking these Christian remixes, these songs that are completely ripping off something, it's like, is that how little faith in Jesus you have that you think you got to use what's popping in the world?
Yeah.
Like, the message of Jesus is that powerful. It does have that much significance. You don't need to be something you're not. You don't need to create something you didn't create and try to go off that. And if that's the case, then it's very clear when it's for your own gain or when it's actually for the kingdom. And I know a lot of people do it for the kingdom, but don't necessarily have the right mindset. They're not putting their faith in, oh, what the ideas God gives me is enough.
Bro is spitting facts right now.
So it's like, I'm not calling every Christian remixer doing it for the money, because I generally don't think that's the intention. However, I think there's a lack of faith behind doing something like that, or because every post really is valuable as a influencer nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how 15-second reels, no matter what, every move, it has to be calculated. That's how much of a freaking game it is now.
Yeah, look, I'm just gonna say, and it's not like crazy or anything like that, but out of nothing that has been a remake or a remix or anything has touched me ever. You know what I mean? The best CHH stuff, the best stuff I've gotten from the Christian hip hop circle has been completely original, raw, authentic, and real. That's been it completely. Like, I'm thinking the last track that really got me emotional was Narrow Road by Ecleso. Have you heard that one?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I think
good.
the ending, all of it, the production's gorgeous, and the way it breaks down in the final part, and Sarah Jewers comes in and goes, don't leave me. That's so real. And it reminds me, right now I'm reading my Bible, I'm going through front to back, and I'm at Psalms. And it reminds me of how David used to, talk to God, and he would plead to him like, I need you, I worship you, I do all of this. Just please be there for me. Don't abandon me. He would say that sometimes. Not all the time, but he would say that sometimes. Like, my enemies are around me. Please don't leave me, because if you leave me, I will die. And that's what that ending reminded me of in that Ecleso song. So I think it's so good. So I want to go a little bit into your album, right? The
I'm not a rapper.
Was it the Telemoros? Or I'm not a rapper, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So, okay. My personal favorite song is Josiah, because, well, that's my name. Fire of God. Wonderful name. Great name. So, first question is, you said you're going by Yoshi now. As
Yoshi Yahu.
That's what you're going to be releasing music under. So, are you going to redistribute your album on... That's what you're going to do? You're going to take it down and then redistribute under that new name?
Eventually. I need to do that process, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
it's already done on Spotify. It's Apple that's giving me a bit of complication.
Yeah. I definitely can, see that, but at least we know you're gonna, re-put your music on there. So, is there anything on that project, anything that's like, because I remember listening to some of this and I'm like, man, either Josiah's had a really crazy past, or I'm like, or some of this is just, poetic language, or is it
Tale
stories?
Of Morris, if you're addressing Tale of Morris, that is a true story. I'm not the person in the first person.
Okay.
Tale of Morris, it's a whole testimony. I had a cousin named Maurice Cabrera. When I lived in San Antonio, but near like almost the outskirts, like for my San Antonians, like Petranco. That's all I gotta say. But my cousin Morris was babysitting me and my sister when I was like 2 years old. There were these 4 robbers, and they were brothers. The whole testimony, the detail of like they were selling crack, they were running the block, they were
100% true.
That's 100% true.
Wow.
Eventually they came to rob. My parents went on a date. Morris was babysitting us at the apartment. They robbed the apartment and they shot him. But what happened with the robbers is that the second they saw my sister, who had Charge syndrome, they had like that full conviction. Like, they weren't even Christian yet. They're like, dang, we did something wrong. Like, this, we just took away their guardian because they, for all they knew, that was like our parent, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like you're gonna take somebody's life away from somebody who literally cannot provide themselves. So that's
Yeah.
how much guilt they basically built up. So they did turn themselves like literally after the cops pulled up. They like turned a new leaf in jail. You get 30 years of jail for murder, first degree murder, I believe.
Yeah.
Second degree or first degree, I don't remember
I'm
completely.
not 100% sure right now.
But they were supposed to spend 30 years. But in jail, their attitudes, like again, they weren't Christian yet. Their
Yeah.
attitudes were just completely shifted. They were like, I don't know how. I don't want to ask how they survived jail, but they were set release after 5 years. So with that, I have another cousin, Alex Cabrera, who Alex ran into the four robbers. I don't remember where exactly. I think it was at the park, just somewhere in public. Alex went up to them, and he was Maurice's brother. So Alex invited them to his church because he was the pastor. And then the four of them were like, "Oh shoot, this is a setup, bro. We can't be doing this." Blah blah blah. But the second they go to church, that's the Sunday following, it was like the way the oldest brother described it to me, who I'm good friends with to this day. He described it as like it was full liberation, and it made a lot of more sense of why our lives were turned around like this. To the point where they went to my sister's funeral, the four of them, and today they're the bodyguards of Alex's church.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's important. 'Cause I think every church needs a bodyguard. Every school needs, people at the doors, right? But protecting the
Yeah.
school. But like my church, my dad is technically the security of my church. So I mean, like, I totally get that. But that really is a powerful testimony. But the
So in the
rapping on that
intel of
song,
Morris, I'm the baby with a mole on the cheek.
yeah. Okay. Okay. The rapping on it though, it made me wonder, were you inspired by anything else like to for that rapping style? Because
I
it's very
studied a lot
lyrical.
of storytelling rap in general. MF Doom, Kendrick, a lot of freaking even Beastie Boys, freaking Paul
Yeah.
Revere by Beastie Boys.
Okay.
That's just
I
a song
felt a
how the
lot of
three of them,
Kendrick.
huh?
I felt a lot of Kendrick
Yeah.
when listening.
The main inspiration was Paul Revere by Beastie
Okay.
Boys because that song's about how the three MCA, Mike D, and I don't remember, but the three of them just met at a bar,
Yeah.
but they were about to like fight each other, and
It
then
was just a small story, but it was very well put together. Well
exactly.
told.
So it's like, but I'm like, I understood the whole story by listening to this, you
Yeah.
know. So I wanted to create somewhat of a setup as well.
Yeah.
I love storytelling rap. That's honestly my favorite type of rapping style. So that was my first time ever like actually storytelling. I had to interview the oldest brother, and of course get permission. But
Yeah.
the first time I showed him the song, I saw tears. Like it was crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I don't doubt it. It's a very the stories and the lyrics on the album were all very powerful. They were all very moving, right? I would say though that a personal question is, what was your like personal favorite track, like the one that you like the best, the one that you feel proud of, or any of that?
Every song. This is the first album I made where I didn't like a song on it. You know,
You didn't like any songs on it?
or no, not like, or how do I, just not liked.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I
get
I
what
was
you mean.
confident in like dropping all of it. You know, so it's
Yeah.
like it's so hard to choose a favorite. It changes all the time.
No, I definitely agree because I remember I like to, when I add music to my library, right? I look at every song and I go like, okay, I think this one's worth adding and this one. And like for your album, I ended up like add, add, add.
It's just every song is perfect for every Minister Freestyle just feels like a villain intro. Like when I forget what I listened to, Whacked Out Murals by Kendrick.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, why was I on the same energy as that?
Yeah, no, you really were. You really were. You were on, you
Freaking, and that's my favorite song to the second half of Minister. That's my favorite thing to perform. It's just so fun.
yeah.
Punches is just I be hitting PRs to punches and swing first. Like those are my workout songs. Point
Yeah.
Proven, I love listening to like on a drive.
With Ali
Yeah.
Minju, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
shout
she
out
did a
her.
great job.
Oh, she
I
was-
think
she-
I think that song is like a definite highlight because like not that that song doesn't have storytelling, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the more like different tracks of the
No,
album
I completely agree with you.
because it's a
So a
different
fun fact
vibe.
about that song, that was one of my 7-minute drills for both verses. I wrote both verses in 7 minutes.
Wow.
That sucked, but I loved it.
That yeah, just 7 minutes, 16 bars.
Yeah,
Jeez, I
it was
don't know how
crazy,
you
bro.
did that. That sounds impossible, but or
It
not
was
impossible.
wild.
Yeah,
Taylor Morris was definitely Taylor Morris is definitely like the writing wise. I think it's the most like coolest
yeah.
or creative. However, a lot of I didn't promote it as much, but I did a song called "A Blessing to a Rapper." I don't know if you checked that out.
That one's not on this. Is it on your
It's not on the
mixtape?
album, but it was the teaser for the album.
Okay.
I'll send you the
No,
YouTube link.
no.
But like,
Then
if
I
you listen to that song, that's like straight up my best rapping period.
okay.
But that was supposed to that was the teaser for this album. But yeah,
Yeah.
We Ain't Done Yet has a lot of like lore behind it. I'm not ready to tell that story yet, but
Okay.
that song is definitely like out of everything I went through last year, that song was my victory anthem. The phrase "We Ain't Done Yet" is not like, oh, it's a hype up song. Oh, we gotta keep going for the win. No, that's your agreement with the Holy Spirit of that.
Yeah.
As He uses you, we are not done. So that's how much significance just that phrase alone has for me.
That almost sounds like that song by KB, "We Right Here," what you just said, the agreement with the Holy Spirit, and that one's like that the
We
youth
right
haven't
here.
abandoned God. That's what
Yeah.
it is. That the youth haven't abandoned God, and they're still we right here. So I like that.
Josiah was definitely like the first time I think I've shared publicly my testimony within my
Yeah.
music. But I left so many details out, bro. That's not even the surface of it.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
There's so much more I wish I could have told, but I know it's not time yet.
Release an 8-minute remix. No,
But no, freaking Josiah was recorded originally over the Duckworth beat, and I'm like, I'll just release this because why not?
dude. Okay.
Yeah.
When I first heard it, I was like, "Do I hear Duckworth?"
Yeah, that's the inspiration. But then I love the verse, and I'm like, yo, why did I write one of my best verses? Because it was just that the Duckworth thing was just for practice, and I'm like, no, dang it, this is a good verse. I can't waste it. So
Yeah.
then Jody hit me up, and he's like, let me redo it. I'm like, all right then. But then it ended up working in our favor.
Wow. So I think, is there any track on the album? This is the reverse. That was your least favorite. Like, and I know you said that you're
Okay,
proud of
if
all of
anything,
them.
I don't like the pride I have on Swing First sometimes. But again, that song's just so good. Like I that was the first reason I didn't want to drop it. I'm like, yo, this isn't even about God. It's a flexing song.
So it's a braggadocious song.
Yeah, but then my other friends was telling me, no, this is good because the song is also about you're willing to defend on what you stand on.
Yeah, you want to
Somewhat.
stand on business. I think that there's a fine line to being braggadocious, right, or prideful, or whatever you want to call it. But I think there's a fine line to that, and then just being straight up prideful.
Yeah.
Like,
I think when I look at it from the perspective of like, no, I'm just standing firm and I'm not afraid to fight whatever. I'm not gonna change my beliefs. You know, nothing's gonna hinder my faith, and that's what the song is basically about. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a good way to interpret the song. You know,
yeah, I think, and that's where that line is. You
or
just-
even like, I'm not gonna swing until they swing first. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for violence, but I'm not gonna be weak either. You know?
Perfect. I agree with that message 1000%. Right? To me, I'm a little bit sick of seeing Christians portrayed in not only music but music we're not portrayed as weak, or not all the time in music, but in like especially Christian movies, Christians are portrayed as passive, weak. And the thing is, we're not portrayed like that by secular media. We are portrayed like that by ourselves. I just watched this movie where it was called like Disciples in the Moonlight or something. I don't know if you've seen that. It was about Christians in the end, right? The rapture has already happened, I believe so, and they're distributing Bibles because Bibles are now illegal. And it was very interesting how it showed that none of the Christians were not willing to. That all they did during the entire movie's run. That was their thing. I'm like, okay, guys.
Bro, that's even crazy when you think about it, because like I'm not even when you think of how God was talking to the Jews in the Old Testament, it's like God never told these people run away. He told them to fight, to defend Israel, defend Jerusalem.
It's like pick up. Okay, guys, look. I know you don't want to straight up murder anybody, but pick up a gun in defense, because that's what...
I get how many people don't like Bryson Gray. Me personally, I think he's one of the most like vocal about his faith. I think his faith is great. I don't agree with a lot of his theology.
Yeah.
But I agree how standing on firm he is on calling out evil, how a lot of people are sensitive and are like, no, we can't hold these leaders accountable. No, we should. We can't be having these.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, because there are times where it's like we're not willing to call out what's wrong because we're afraid to be called hateful or bigoted.
But that's not hate. That's protecting the kingdom of God.
And a lot of the times, I know it's a Christian thing, right? If you love someone, you're gonna tell them the truth. You speak the truth in love. That's not hate, right? If you see your brother or just see a person who's not a Christian doing something wrong, tell them. If they think it's hate, that's on them. That's their problem. But at least you spoke, you said it. I think it was KB who reposted this. Something. Do you know the magician's Penn and Teller? So Penn is apparently like a major atheist. And he said, if God is real, and he's like, and hell is an actual thing, which once again, he's an atheist. He said, it is the most wrong thing to do to deny someone sharing them your faith, to not share your faith with them. He said, because if you know that there is a hell, that's like me not sharing the cure for disease. And you know the cure, and you're not sharing it with them. And I'm like, 100%, this guy who's not even a Christian got it. More than other actual Christians have it.
Again, salvation is not exclusive. Like again, salvation was not just for the Jews when after Jesus shortly went away. Yeah, it was meant for the world.
First to the Jew, then to the Gentile. Everybody.
Exactly.
So it's everybody. And the religious leaders, they hated that. They could not stand it. And I think that's one of the things that Bryson and all of them, they get wrong. Because, yes, I love how they're very vocal about what they believe, but then it's like, we're supposed to be sharing with everyone. We're not supposed to be leaving anyone out. But that's
why I bring back my point on some people are made for certain demographics.
Yeah.
The kingdom, freaking in Romans 12, I believe it's verse like 8 or 9. It literally talks about how we're all still part of the body, but not every body part has the same function. But that doesn't make them not part of the body of Christ. It's that this person's purpose is meant for this demographic, and this person is meant for this demographic. They're still part of the body, but this person should not be hindering, or I don't want to say hindering, but he shouldn't be concerned about what this other person is doing. You ever heard the phrase of like, don't be jealous because that blessing wasn't for you, it was for that person. You know?
Yeah, I've heard that.
So it's that same concept of like, I can speak to, I don't think I do good in front of a white crowd more than Highland would.
Yeah.
No, I don't think Highland would do good in front of like a Latino crowd as good as I would.
Yeah.
I'm not making this a matter of race, but just, again.
It's cultures.
It is culture, exactly.
Just you're more in tune with, Hispanic or Latino culture, and Highland's more in tune with, more white culture.
Or maybe. Even, like, when I look at, like, somebody like Grant, he has something people would call, like, a boring testimony somewhat, but it's like, he didn't grow up in a bad home,
Grant, you mean Graham? Like
Grant the kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
So, like, I'm not calling his testimony boring. Like,
yeah.
But he didn't deal with, like, he dealt with more internal struggle than external struggle. But still, that's relatable for so many people who were fortunate and who did grow up in good homes. But still, there were problems that Satan still tried to attack them with. We
Yeah.
need we need more stories of that. It shouldn't be, oh, I was in jail, blah blah blah. Oh, I hooked up with this many women. I did
Yeah.
drugs. I drank my whole life. No, there's dudes who've never done that who still don't know Jesus.
Yeah, no, I remember hearing Jackie Hill Perry mention something about that. She said, lots of Christians who were raised in Christian homes, right, and they're still Christians, they didn't have a ratchet past. And I agree with that 100% because, I mean, I was raised in a Christian home, and although I never had a ratchet past, I did have, and still to this day, the struggles, like you said, the internal struggles compared to external struggles. My struggles aren't just things that you'd see on the surface, like, oh, I did drugs, oh, I've slept with 30 women, oh, I think of this thing a comedian once said where he's like, I was sitting down at my church and people were coming up giving testimonies, and the guy up there was like, oh, I did drugs. I was addicted to crack. And the person next to him goes, aw, I wish I was addicted to crack. And because he wanted his testimony to sound better. And I'm like, no, that's not.
No, bro, that's a blessing you never did that.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. I mean, and my dad, like, for example, my dad, he has a crazy testimony. He should be a statistic. He grew up without a dad. Right there, that means that the chances are higher he would be in jail, right? He grew up on the streets of New Jersey, drinking. He was almost, his brother would say, nearly suicidal a lot of the times. Like, he did stuff wanting, like, with the intention of, if I die, I die. Like, I don't care. He'd drive like that and all that. And the only reason that my dad's not dead, that he's still alive, is because of God. So, I mean, like, I can definitely see the argument of people say, oh, I wish that happened to me. I wish I had a more powerful testimony. But at the same time,
No, bro, there's people who are just like you.
exactly. I met somebody who was exactly like me. He's like, oh, yeah, I grew up in a Christian home. He's like, I just had lots of problems. And, for a long time, I just felt like it wasn't real, like I didn't have that affirmation, right? Because we want to know without a doubt that we're saved, right? And you need that, like, the Spirit telling you, yeah, you are saved. And he didn't have that for a long time, and he's like, oh, and I just had this internal struggle for years and years and years, although never externally. And he's like, but one day, as I was reading my Bible, it just happened. And I was like, I realized, oh, it's not real to me right now. And what he said, that really resonated with me because I was like, what, 20 at the time? And I hadn't heard many testimonies that somewhat reflected mine. And I was like, thank you. That's mine, because I mean, I grew up in the Christian home. I was 6 years old. My mom told me about hell, right? And heaven, and honestly, I didn't want to go to hell, so I prayed, right? Voila. But I hate hearing people go, oh, your life before Christ should be 100% different. Well, for me, there wasn't like too much of a life before Christ. I was 6. I mean, the worst I was doing was lying. Maybe some disrespect of my parents, so.
Just that maturing stage.
Exactly. I hadn't even hit really a chance to do anything that bad. And years later, I did, so. I think I'm going to move on with this one last part. So are you planning to do, like, anything upcoming? You're going to release an album? Are you gearing up for that or anything like that?
I plead the fifth as an American citizen. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, no, don't feel pressured. You don't have to.
This year, starting March, people can expect a single a month. Hopefully 2 singles, maybe. That's a big maybe, but definitely a single a month. I do have an album. I'm waiting on God to tell me when.
Yeah.
It feels more like a next year thing.
Yeah.
just because a lot is going into this project. It's generally some of the best music I've ever. I don't want to sound like prideful, but
Yeah.
it's some of the best music, Christian music I've ever heard personally.
Mm.
I'm very proud of it. But yeah, I'm hoping it can come out next year. I don't think it's ready for this year, but I definitely do want to push. My biggest thing I want to push, bro, is I saw when the Rolling Loud stuff happened with Christian rap.
Yeah.
I saw Dalton, a videographer. You know who he is?
Uh, I'm not 100% familiar with the name, but I actually did think I saw somebody named Dalton at the Rolling Loud thing. So just
Okay, so he posted on his story like, why are we more concerned about why are Christians getting mad at this? Like, you're more
yeah,
concerned about sending Christians to Guatemala and not your own two communities down the road. You know,
yep,
where I want to push for that this year. Of we should serve our communities as Christians. We have nothing to fear going out to these spaces. And again, that goes into who's built for what, who's part of the body. But evangelism, I don't see much of it anymore within.
unfortunately in America, almost non-existent, and it's really
Exactly.
sad. It's
And I
really
really
sad.
think that's more because there are a lot of countries who don't just have the Bible or can say the name of Jesus, where I think God has to work way more supernaturally in those countries. But here we have access. We can pray.
We got
We can go to
freedom.
church. We have that freedom. So it's a matter of go out and look for it. You don't have an excuse. You will find God, or God will find you even the moment you
Exactly.
seek for it.
And
But with that being
the
said,
days that we're not going to be able to do that, our freedoms are going to be eventually it's going to get harder to say the name of Jesus out there, right? It's not going to be as accepted as it is now, or like tolerated as it is now. And we're taking it for granted because some people are saying zip. They're just going about their days, and that's really a shame. People need to bring Christ at the forefront of their lives, right? And let it affect their entire personality, everything
but with
about
that
them.
being said, for me, I want to be big example of serve others. Of don't be afraid to at least start the conversation, an icebreaker of, hey, what do you believe
Exactly.
in an afterlife? What do you think your purpose is? Stuff like that. And it doesn't have to be forced. But there's just so much fear for people when God tells us not to fear. God tells us not to worry. That Satan has such a chokehold on Christians today where they don't realize anxiety is not trusting God. Talking down on yourself is telling God he made a mistake, stuff like that. Where
Yeah.
there's so much more depth into your actions. But I hope I can be a voice to call that out for a lot of people so that I can see better good for the community, for Christianity, and just mankind in general
Yep.
with whatever I can do to my capability. Again, if music speaks to the soul, if I have the power and somebody gives me the time of their day for me to enter their soul somewhat, I'm gonna be sure it's Jesus. I'm gonna be sure it's gonna uplift them rather than bring them down.
And it's easy. That's the thing. Cuz all it's doing is sharing your own testimony and saying what Jesus has done for you. That's it. It's really not that difficult. Because people think there's like a formula, and it's not a formula. That's the opposite of what you want. You want, as I had an interview with Marty a while ago, and he mentioned that the biggest thing within music, and I believe that within all of life, is authenticity. That's what people want when you're sharing. They want to hear you and see what God has done for you. And then they'll see what God can do for them and what he does throughout everything. So, I mean, it's just really a shame. Yeah.
But yeah, 2025, make Christian music good again.
Yeah. Sire for or not Sire, but Yoshi Yahu
Yoshi
for
for
president.
president.
That's gonna take a good second for me to get used
Nah,
to
I'll
that
be
one.
I'll be Dill's treasurer if anything.
Yeah. Yeah, Dilly for president and keep forgetting. Well, no. So what are we gonna have? Dilly for president or Marty for president? I think Marty went first though.
I'm Team Marty, but
I'm
I
Team
like them
Marty
both.
too. So then we'll have Marty for president, Dilly for vice president, and you for secretary of defense.
Nah, make me treasure. I want to be treasure.
Okay, treasurer then. Well, thank you, Yoshi, for dropping by. I
Yes,
think
sir.
we had an absolutely amazing conversation,
Very
full
great.
of gems, honestly. And so, yeah, we should definitely do this again sometime if we
I'm always
can.
down.
Remember, there's only two things I know. I know that Jesus is king and that JT, moi, knows best. See you guys next time.